Well, hello and welcome to another trading day in September right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Let's get to the top stories that lead you to gains this month. Let's start with what's happening in the private sector now. See, Nigeria's private sector strengthened in August as improved demand and easing inflation. That lifted business activity. The Purchasing Managers Index rose for the 9th consecutive month to 54.2 points in August from 54.0 points in July. That's the highest since April. Quite incredible. Output and new orders rose sharply, with demand hitting a 19-month high. Most sectors such as agriculture, services, wholesale, retail, trade, that expanded, though manufacturing lagged. Hiring continued, but at a slower pace, while backlogs fell for the first time in 5 months. Price pressures also eased. Input and output costs that grew at their weakest pace in more than 5 years, with wages rising mainly on account of incentives and cost of living adjustments. Despite softer sentiment, businesses remain upbeat on future output, supported by strong orders and expansion plans. So that's definitely a positive right there for the economy. To other stories now, the federal government's offering up to 16.54% yield on the September savings bonds for the federal government. That's opened the subscription there for the 2025 September savings bonds, offering investors annual yields of up to 16.541%. According to a circular from the Debt Management Office. The offer, which opened on Monday, will run until Friday, September 5th, 2025, with settlement scheduled for September 10th, 2025. Coupon payments will be made quarterly on March 10th, June 10th, and September 10th, and also December 10th, directly to investors' accounts. So when you start getting those alerts, don't forget me. Well, to also know, the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Dr. Zach Adedeji, has called on world leaders to step up efforts against rising cross-border tax crimes, threatening revenue mobilization and global economic growth. Mr. Adedeji made the appeal in a keynote address delivered on his behalf of the 42nd Cambridge International Symposium on Economic Crimes in the United Kingdom, represented by Professor Bolaji Wasanoye, Coordinating Director for Proceeds of Crime Management and Illicit Financial Flows at FIRS. He warned that cross-border economic crimes have become one of the most urgent challenges of today's interconnected economy. According to him, in a world where capital moves faster than law enforcement and regulatory frameworks struggle to keep pace with digital and legal arbitrage, the fight against illicit financial flows must be both local and global, immediate and sustained. All right, to Nigeria's capital market now. The Nigerian Exchange Limited has suspended trading in the shares of Regency Alliance Insurance PLC, International Energy Insurance PLC, and Universal Insurance PLC for failing to submit their audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2024. The suspension, which took effect September 1st, that was yesterday, was carried out in line with the NGX default filing rules, which mandate a trading halt and regulatory notification to Securities and Exchange Commission when listed companies miss their reporting deadlines. According to the NGX, trading in the affected insurers will remain suspended until the outstanding financial statements are filed. All right, let's get a check now on our major FX earner. See oil prices, they're up today as concerns about supply disruptions grew amid escalation of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, as markets are weighing whether upcoming U.S. jobs data would lead to interest rate cuts. Investors there watching patiently at this point for a cut in September. $68.76 per barrel. That's Brent, up big 0.90%, but we'll see a bigger move for WTI. That's the U.S. grade. That has smashed that $64 level, trading at $65.26 a barrel with a bigger 1.95% rise. We'll drill more on what's driving sentiment right there in the oil market. All right, you see, to all the news now, Africa risks remaining largely a consumer of food, services, and innovation if it fails to harness artificial intelligence to drive productivity and competitiveness. This warning was issued by Nigeria's Minister of Communications, Innovation, and digital economy, Dr. Bosu Tijani, at the Gitex Nigeria ICT and Innovation Forum in Abuja, sponsored by Mtn Nigeria. Mr. Tijani emphasized that AI must be central to Africa's strategy for job creation and wealth generation. Our correspondent, Benny Ark, reports.
This is Gitex Nigeria 2025, a landmark technology summit held in Abuja. It was organized by Kaun International with National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, supported by the Federal Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, and backed by Mtn Nigeria as the official sponsor. The summit brings together top government officials, diplomats, investors, including executives of Mtn Nigeria, tech executives, and private sector leaders. Development partners also joined to reinforce global collaboration.
For investors that we meet everywhere we go.
The summit's goal include driving digital infrastructure, mainstreaming artificial intelligence, and advancing public sector innovation to position Nigeria as a leader in the digital economy.
Underpinned by the overarching national AI strategy that was only launched last year, with a 5-year roadmap to look at, again, very clearly positioning Nigeria to be in its global leadership position, but importantly, looking at governance, looking at Nigeria being a responsible innovation leader in the world.
We need to build capabilities in 3 or 4 areas, cutting across policies, computing and infrastructure, and human capital.
The minister reiterated that AI is key for African economies to create jobs and grow wealth.
AI will widen the gap between nations around productivities. Countries that are already ahead will move even faster, and those that are still catching up will find it even more difficult to catch up.
The management of Mtn Nigeria reaffirmed the company's commitment to building a robust digital ecosystem for Africa.
Artificial intelligence can have a massive impact in our society, and we see it's a part of our key responsibility to provide the computing infrastructure through this data center, which we've just completed the first phase of. But the connectivity remains as important as ever, and having fiber deployed to all the businesses and at the homes where you have these developers is absolutely critical to the success of artificial intelligence in Nigeria.
Online today, we host about 12 petabytes of data. Granted, we're moving from a telco-centric environment, and we're moving into a technology space. AI is all about data, and it's how you're able to utilize this data, of which we're in that right space to do.
With Nigeria's population set to hit 400 million by 2050, speakers at the summit stressed that jobs and competitiveness depend on adopting artificial intelligence now, warning that Africa cannot afford to be left behind. From the venue of the Government Leadership and AI Summit, Benny Ark, reporting for Channels Television News.
All right, now to our first conversation. Yeah, definitely we did check on the equities market yesterday, and we're up over 36% year to date, despite, volatility. But sustaining this growth requires investor confidence, regulatory innovation, and stronger governance. Today, joined by Dr. Momotimi Agama, the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission right here in Nigeria, to discuss building a stronger Nigeria capital market. Great to have you on the show, sir, and Happy New Month.
Thank you so much for having me, and indeed, Happy New Month.
All right, let's look at, some of the approvals, coming from the SEC, licenses, new broker-dealer licenses, recent approvals in principle for digital exchanges, the likes of Busher and Quidax. Talk to me about, the SEC's role in, approving the mergers, because we also had mergers and acquisitions. The recent one we had with Titan Bank and Union Bank. Talk to me about that approval and its impact, your expected impact on Nigeria's banking consolidation trend that we've seen so far.
Yes, so thank you so much for having me at this show this morning. It is indeed very, very important that we continue to engage Nigerians around what is happening in the market. And there's no gainsaying that the macroeconomic stability and various policies of government has indeed helped the capital market to grow. But fundamentally, you also know that the major fulcrum for that growth has been the signing into law of the ISA 2025 by Mr. President. So, from the capital market angle and the capital market family, we remain very grateful to Mr. President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for such a magnanimous effect on the Nigerian capital market. Having said that, that has also engineered the progress in the recapitalization of banks in Nigeria. We have raised over 2 trillion naira for banks who had come to the capital market to raise funds. And it is very, very interesting to note that none of the banks that actually had accessed the market within this period had had any under-subscription. And it tells you the strength and the value of the market, the confidence of the market, and indeed the investors. So we believe that the recapitalization exercise will continue to grow while the capital market will continue to provide the necessary avenue for that policy to thrive. And so we believe also that it is a process, and that process will continue. We are beginning to see second-round applications to the capital market to raise more funds, and from the indications that we have, this is also going to be successful. Coming down to the points you raised, or the question you raised around the merger between Union Bank and Titan Bank, it is also instructive to note that that merger had been approved long before now by the Securities and Exchange Commission, having fulfilled all of the requirements required for that merger to take place. They have just received the final approval from their primary regulator, hence the delay in announcing the SEC's approval earlier on. So for us, we are supportive of the central bank. We are supportive of the federal government policies around banking recapitalization, knowing fully well that the value is to create stronger banks to be able to fund the real sector and indeed, at the end of the day, reduce poverty among Nigerians, besides the redistribution of wealth. We are proud to say the capital market is up and doing and strong enough to absorb all of this, because without a strong capital market, this will not happen. Investors' confidence is actually rising. People are beginning to see the effect of federal government policies, macro and micro fiscal policies, in making sure that we have a stronger economy for Nigerians. And that, for us, it's our goal. Our goal as the primary capital market regulator is to make sure that we provide the enabling environment, we provide clarity, and we provide certainty in the way we do things. The investors are very, very important to us, and they are Nigerians. And so it is our responsibility, in furtherance of Mr. President's objective of recreating wealth, redistributing wealth among Nigerians, to making sure that people understand that there is value, that they can actually derive from the capital market, and that value will indeed increase their wealth and well-being, and of course, improve their status in society. So that is exactly what we are doing, and we will continue to do that because it is a responsibility that has been, given to us by Mr. President, and we will fulfill that, President, in the hope of achieving our renewed hope agenda for Nigerians.
Yes, definitely a lot of, you guys are really busy right there at the SEC, and, definitely the Titan and Union Bank, that was approved a while back by the SEC. But let's look at the recent approvals in principle. I think it's been 1 year now, about a year, since we started regulating digital assets and the cryptocurrency industry in Nigeria. We've given licenses to about 2 companies now. Is it getting easier, for the SEC to regulate cryptocurrency and digital assets? Would you say it's getting easier at this point?
Yes, again, it still falls back to the quick action by Mr. President in signing the law. The law was actually delivered to the presidency in just about the 18th, 19th of March. And by the 25th of March, 2025, Mr. President has signed that bill into law. And in that law, you have copiously written the responsibility of the SEC in the regulation of the digital asset space. That gives us much more than just a teeth, but an ability to bite, which supports the approvals we had given on the heels of the ISA 2007 for approvals in principle. We had given for the cryptocurrency exchanges, that is for Busha and Quidas in the first instance. And we said what we said at that time, that the essence of a regulatory soundbox is actually to watch and mirror what the activities of these institutions, are, in order for us to be able to create robust risk management frameworks to support both the exchanges and Nigerian investors. And that has happened. So for the past 1 year, we have been taking lessons, critical lessons, that will help us build a better market, a bigger market, and a more robust market, while also making sure that all security checks are in place. So at the time we issue out a functional license, we will have been sure with ourselves and with our partners. And our partners are the ONSA, the EFCC, the NFIU, the CAC, and the Central Bank of Nigeria, amongst several other institutions in this country that has some, relationship with this entire process, including the FIROS, that is the tax authorities. This is very, very important because we want to create an environment where everybody is comfortable. Everybody understands exactly their roles and what they need to do. And the players are also clear about their responsibilities in this space, within reporting to the central bank, within paying tax to the federal government, within making sure that whatever they do does not breach our sovereign security. And indeed, there are no economic and financial crimes associated with their activities. This is why it is important that we run a robust structure. That structure must be run in collaboration with all of these agencies of government. There is no way that the SEC alone can do that. And that is why it's important that this partnership and relationship is fostered. And that's exactly what we are doing. For one reason, we are all working for the government. We are all working for Mr. President's agenda. And so it must be seen, and it is what it is, that we are working together to achieving oneness and making sure that the operators are clear in their mind that as government, we will do all that we need to do to protect them and to protect the investors who are in it. So this is where we are. We have had several other applications which are going more rigorous process, because in the first instance, for the initial approvals in principle, we did that to stamp our role and our intention to open innovation to Nigerians and to the Nigerian stakeholders. After that, and the lessons we had learned through that process, the process of re-registration of other parties had become more rigorous, and that is why we had not come out with the second cohort. But I can tell you clearly that is going to happen in a very short while. The second cohort will be released so that we can move on and take up the next stage of approval processes with regards to those that we are giving approval in principle.
All right, Dr. Gama, looking at, still talking about, getting a license in Nigeria to, run a cryptocurrency exchange. I've heard in some quarters that getting that license here is quite expensive. And, some feel like that would not allow some, regional exchanges, try and get that license. What do you say to that?
Well, that may not be correct. You see, people review information on the premise of their knowledge. So what has happened with the new ISA 2025 is that we have created what we call, tiers of exchanges. And those tiers of exchanges are in different categories. Why must that happen? Or why are we doing that? We are doing that because we recognize the situation of local and international players. The Nigerian government will in no way disenfranchise its own citizens. And so we must plan appropriately regulation that will help the Nigerian youths who are all innovators, if you want to say it that way, right? Who are yearning to do something new to come into this space. So they all play in different leagues, and those different leagues will be taken care of appropriately. But while we are also saying that, we're also saying that there is strength in combination. There is strength in partnership. There is strength in collaboration. This is important even for the local investors and the local innovators. It is important that you look exactly at what you're doing. Is there a value in partnering? Is there a value in collaborating? Is there a value in coming together to build a stronger institution with stronger governance and stronger structures that will compete favorably with any other institution internationally or wherever? It is not enough to have an idea and to just want to jump in, onto the scale. It is important that we understand that that idea, will it run fast? And it's often said, and it's an old adage, if you want to run fast, you can go alone. But if you want to run far, you must go with others. And so that is very, very critical as a way of advice. But if, as an individual, you have the strength, you have the wherewithal to be able to do big business and to compete with others, and you have all that it takes to do so by our regulation and requirements, you are welcome, and we are happy to deal with that. But all said and done, the federal government wants to make sure that everyone is involved. It is an inclusive business. We won't want anyone to be left behind. And whatever regulation we are going to frame around that happening, we will do so, because innovation is also our next name.
All right, so another thing investors are looking forward to in Nigeria, that's the T2 settlement trading. That means the day of trade just takes about 2 days for your trades to get settled, and you can get value for that. How's the SEC bracing, for this big change? Is it looking favorable?
Yeah, right. I am excited. I'm excited at this turn of event. For so long, we have been on the T3 mode of settlement, which means it takes you 3 days to get your money after you have invested. And we think that we have come of age to reducing that. And we are doing it, scalely. Because what are we saying? We're saying, okay, let's start first with a T+2, which is a T+2 settlement days, which will happen actually on the 28th of November 2025, and we are not going back around it. But just to also let you know, we are moving from T+2 after 6 months in 2026, because we think that people should get their money, as fast as they get their money after doing an investment. And of course, all of the payment systems in Nigeria is about one of the most advanced payment systems in the world. Kudos to the Central Bank of Nigeria. And why would that not happen even in the capital market? So we are saying that capital market, the investors in the capital market, Nigerians should enjoy the benefit of the digitalization of the entire system. And that's exactly where we are coming from, because time is money. And we are excited that that is going to happen, start happening on the 28th of November, and we'll move forward even to a T+1 and possibly a T+0 as we continue to drive innovation and transformation of the Nigerian economy under the present government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Yeah, that would be so nice to make a trade and get value immediately. But before I let you go, sir, what scams do you think Nigerians should be wary of, right now? What trends are you seeing, Nigerians should, secure themselves against?
Yes, that, again, is something that is very close to my heart. And, of course, the federal government does not want anybody to lose money. And so we are saying that people should be wary. First and foremost, if it is too good to be true, certainly it is not true. We must be very, very conscious. We must read, understand exactly what kind of investment these people are talking about. But beyond all of that, registration is a hallmark of regulation. So for every Nigerian that wants to be involved in any investment, first find out from the SEC and ask the question, are they registered? Ask the one that is coming to meet you if they are registered with the SEC, if they have the license of the SEC. I repeat it, the license of the SEC and not that of the Corporate Affairs Commission. The Corporate Affairs Commission will register your business, but does not register your functionality in the Nigerian capital market. So the Nigerian capital market licenses are issued by the Securities and Exchange Commission and no one else. That is number one. Because you have a lot of schemes, pump and dump, fizzling, and of course, providing unreasonable returns. Because it's certainly impossible to provide some of the kind of returns that people are, brandishing everywhere. And those are the things that should catch your attention. Once somebody tells you that, look, we are going to give you something that you ordinarily know is not possible, know certainly that that is a fraud. And it's important that we interrogate people. We should reach out to the SEC. We have most recently issued over 85 notices and advisories to people regarding fraudulent schemes in whatever form. Is it from the real estate angle? Is it from unusual investment schemes? All we have issued license. And we are saying that if you are engaged in a business that has to do with investment and securities, you are expected to register with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Indeed, Section 3A of the Investment and Securities Act number 2, 2025 strictly speaks to it, that the SEC regulates investments and securities businesses in Nigeria. And so it is our responsibility as the representative of the federal government to monitor and to moderate this environment. Anyone who is involved in any such activity and is not registered with the commission, the person is in violation of the law. And it's important, if you do not understand, please ask questions, and asking questions means reaching out to the SEC. The SEC has offices in Lagos, in Kano, in Port Harcourt, and the head office in Abuja. We are ready 24/7 to provide those information. And as we drive towards this, the SEC is undergoing serious digitization processes. And those digitization processes will culminate into having a soft code where people can easily, with a short code, be able to ask questions, and also an SEC app that will enable people make inquiries real-time online in order to move this nation forward.
Right.
We won't rest on our hours. The market is moving. The market has, actually gone above 91 trillion. We are believing strongly that we must sustain this and will also improve it. The market infrastructures are getting stronger. Governance is getting stronger. And indeed, we are making efforts to make sure the market operators also are stronger. So in the coming days, a lot of actions will continue to happen in fulfillment of the new law and making sure that Nigerians get benefit of, the magnanimity of Mr. President in signing the law as fast as he did. So it is our responsibility as the SEC to deliver, and that we promise we will do.
All right, thank you so much. You heard it there from the SEC boss. If it's too good to be true, stay away from it or ask questions. Thank you so much for coming on the show, sir. Dr. Mtnn Agama is the Director General of Securities and Exchange Commission. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me too, and thank you, Nigerians.
Right, earlier I talked about Nigeria's PMI rising to 54.2 points in August. Let's talk to Mr. Bismarck Rouhani now, MD CEO of Financial Derivatives Company. Great to have you on the show, sir. Good morning, long time.
Good morning, thank you, Billy, and Happy New Month.
Happy New Month. Happy New Month.
I'm looking forward to a very interesting market today when now the U.S. markets are open.
Yeah,
okay.
And sir, I hope September is going to be bullish. I hope we're all going to make profit this month.
Yes. Why do I say that September is going to be bullish? There are three things that are happening. One, there is the price of Brent, which is our benchmark oil, benchmark blend of crude. It's up at almost $69 a barrel. Last month, the average price of Brent for the whole of August was $67.26. Today, you're trading at about almost $69. So we are good as far as the price is concerned. We're also good as far as the production is concerned. We are at our OPEC quota at 1.5 million barrels of crude and 200,000 barrels of condensate, which is good. I think that has to be taken into consideration. More interestingly, is that the fact that sorry, I'm just.
No, that's okay.
More interestingly is the fact that the price of PMS is down to 852 naira, and diesel is at 1,020. That is significantly lower than what it was 2 months ago, and that drives inflation. Finally, we are seeing cocoa. Cocoa prices up by almost 3% to about $7,700 on good weather in Ivory Coast, good weather in Nigeria, and good weather in Ghana. So I think that's the interesting element. We see most important development is the PMI, which was announced by IBTC, Stanbic, and S&P. It's gone to 54.2. This is a record high in terms of nine months of consecutive increases in the PMI, the Purchasing Managers Index. And why is it that people are buying inventory? There's a stable exchange rate, and people are also beginning to, consumers are beginning to increase their demand for commodities. So all told, when you look at the four factors I just discussed, one is the price of crude, which is higher than that of August. Two is the production of crude and condensates, which is at our OPEC quota. Three is the fact that Dangote has brought down the price of petrol now and diesel to 1020. And finally, that the PMI, which is the Purchasing Manager Index, which is a leading indicator, tells you that we are likely to see a positive September, all things being equal.
All right, let's definitely looking forward to some have called it maybe a mini dirty September. We'll see if that plays out. But looking deeper into this PMI, are there any signs that the manufacturing industry in Nigeria did get some kind of break in August?
Yes, the truth is that one, we had harvests, and therefore the prices. When we get to the commodity prices, we'll see everything except for tomatoes, every other thing stayed flat or reduced. So what has happened is that the investors who saw a flat and appreciating naira delayed their purchases until sometime in August. So they are now beginning to buy inventory, order inventory from overseas. And the average time between when you order inventory and when you get it is about 90 to 100 days. So we are beginning to see that clearly happen. So I think that if you look at the PMI, it has inventory, it has employment, it has output, and it has manufacturing data. So all of these things point to the fact that we are now beginning to see some stability. So it's not just September is an inflection point, but also we are building up towards what we can call the DDD, which is Dirty December. which is going to be very, very attractive and impressive this year.
Mr. Ron, it's quite interesting. I did, see some stories earlier, and everyone is anticipating this December. I just hope we don't jinx it at this point.
I don't think we'll blow it. I think this December is going to be very interesting. It's going to be much more aggressive and impressive than last December. So if last December was a dirty December, this year, like I said, it's the 3 Ds. It's a dirty December. The Financial Times yesterday had a special on 5 restaurants that are going to be, which are leading in Nigeria. And those 5 restaurants are in Lagos. So one of them RSVP, the other one, I can't remember. There was one in Abstract Ikoyi and some other ones. But it's quite impressive that the FT is leading and championing the thrust for Nigeria and Lagos in particular for this December. So we look forward to this December. But before we go there, I want us to stop and look at the inflation numbers that are going to come out on the 15th of this month, which is in about 12 days or so from now, or 13 days from now.
Yeah, we're definitely looking out for that number.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
The projections are that inflation would actually moderate by about 21.46 or something. And if that happens, and the central bank MPC meets and brings down interest rates marginally by about 25 basis points, we should then begin to see much more momentum in the economy as we go into the last quarter of the year.
All right, Mr. Ronnie, let's circle back to this PMI data now. Could this improvement signal, stronger GDP growth in Q3 2025?
Yes. As a matter of fact, in Q1 we had about 31.1. We are now seeing most projections, including that of the IMF and the World Bank and the EIU. We are now looking at maybe for the year, the average will be about 3.5%. If we come out at 3.5% for the year, we would have outperformed sub-Saharan Africa, all right? We would have outperformed the global growth rate. So it means that the recovery is beginning to pick up some momentum, however, very mild. But the problem is not just about growth, it's about welfare. It's about institutional reform to ensure that the benefits of this growth can filter through and reach all angles and nooks and corners of Nigeria. In other words, the GDP per head will go from around $900 to about $1,010 for the year. Also, the level of multidimensional poverty should reduce, and also we should have a stronger impact of the fiscal deficit dropping below 5%. If not for some of those changes, fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP would have gone as high as 6 or 7%, but now we are seeing it at about 4.3%. So one, your GDP growth goes to 3.5% for the year. Your inflation moderates to about almost 21%, and then you also begin to see that your debt service burden begins to reduce. If all of those things happen, 2026 may be a slightly better year than 2025, and definitely better than 2024.
All right, so is this a bullish signal for the stock market? Because definitely we're kicking off September on the back foot. We see the bears dominating proceedings yesterday.
Yes, the reality is that there are technical factors and fundamental factors. I don't see the market crashing. I think the fact that the bears came out in early September or first day of September means nothing. As a matter of fact, we think that will continue maybe for another day or two. But the reality is that let us look, the stock market is a reflection of earnings. When you look at all those companies that declared losses last year, right? Almost all of them without exception, are going to be declaring profits. You take Mtn, you take Como, you take Presco, you take Guinness, you take Nigerian breweries, almost all those companies that declared losses because of FX losses and the 70% devaluation of the currency are now begin to see what I call forex gains coming in. And therefore, if that is the case, and you see a massive increase in their revenue as well as their profits, I think the center of the stock market will begin to reflect this. But it is not a very broad earnings surge. We are seeing it mainly the big companies, the major top 10 capitalized companies. So you have Dangote Cement, you have, like I mentioned earlier, you had Guinness, you had Nigerian breweries, you had MTN, you have Airtel, you have Presco, you have Okomu, across the board, fast-moving consumer goods, building materials, services, telcos, and also manufacturing. So it's going to be a good quarter as far as the stock market is concerned.
And, definitely a stellar performance from the insurance index in August, about 44%. Do you see that continuing in September, or has that insurance rally fizzled away?
I think the insurance rally may continue, but I don't think it's going to be as rapid or as aggressive as you've seen it in the past. But don't forget, the insurance sector has always been performing suboptimally. We are now beginning to see it because of the insurance general, first and foremost, they increase the capital requirements. And as asset values begin to increase because of the devaluation of the currency, you need to insure, because in any loss you sustain now, without insurance, you're going to be wiped out. So if you bought a car for, say, 10 million naira a year ago, 15 million naira a year ago, and now it's stolen and it's not insured, you can imagine what is going to happen to that person. So the insurance sector continues to grow because asset values are growing. The insurance sector continues to grow because insurance is a savings product. And the insurance sector continues to grow because the risk of loss is very high and the impact of a loss is quite significant as far as the assured is concerned. And don't forget, you have the life assurance products, you have the non-life insurance product, you have the general insurance products.
Oil starting off quite strong. Gold, that's hit about $3,500 per ounce. Above that, also starting off strong. What are we seeing here? What's this indicating?
Well, I think first and foremost, you want to understand the inverse relationship between the dollar and gold. Gold has it's crossed $3,500 per ounce now. And once there's uncertainty as to the value of the dollar because of the interest rates and the question of the independence of the Federal Reserve Bank, investors are scrambling for gold, scrambling for precious metals, and because of that, the BRICS are now beginning to have alternative payment systems. As a matter of fact, I think it's Kenya today that has agreed to settle and move most of their transactions into Indian rupees and Chinese yuan, so that to diversify their portfolio. So the dollar remains the preeminent currency in the world, but I think the dominance of the dollar in global trade and all of that will be marginally affected because of the fact that the Federal Reserve Bank is under a lot of pressure at this point in time. So if you fast forward after the 7th of September, or I think, yes, there'll be an OPEC meeting on the 7th of September. There'll be an open market committee or Federal Reserve Bank committee meeting also early in September. And you go forward to the fact that the Nigerian MPC meeting will take place, I think, on the 20th or 21st of September. All of these things mean something that, one, the dollar might depreciate in value, the price of oil may increase, and more than anything else, the Nigerian economy will begin to, the 25 basis point expectation that we expect, that we are looking forward to at the MPC meeting, may make the impact of debt service on Nigerian government it's slightly lower, but it's not going to change things dramatically. So we still expect the Naira to trade in the same range of 15 1520 to 1560, 1570. And we do not expect any major devaluation of the currency in the short term.
All right, fantastic. I guess that's, good news for, salary earners and manufacturers at this point. But we know OPEC, they've made some moves. They're planning an output hike of about 547,000 barrels per day. Do you see any impact there?
I think I get that.
OPEC Plus, they're planning an output hike, I think about 547,000 barrels per day. Are you seeing any impact? Because we know the output hikes always dampen oil prices.
I think that if I heard you right, if there's been an increase in production, and that means, first and foremost, we have an increase in price. Secondly, we have an increase in production. So our Nigeria's oil revenues should be much stronger than what it is today. And that stability in our currency and export earnings will play into our currency, play into our balance of trade, and reflect in our gross reserves, which are now about $41.3 billion, which is quite impressive compared to where we were a year ago.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Bismarck Ruwani. Definitely be looking forward to that DDD for this December. Looking forward to it.
D cubed.
D cubed.
D times D.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, sir. Always great having your perspective on show. All right, so yeah, I know you also are anticipating, the December, and definitely there's high hopes at this point. Just pray we all have good cash in our pockets. But talking about cash, let's find out what's playing out in the global economy now. We're seeing copper there. That's on the London Metal Exchange. Was trading near a 5-week high as industrial commodities received a boost there. Metal edged up by 0.1% to trade at $9,890 there. And definitely, we're seeing the metals doing pretty well today. In Shanghai time, aluminum, zinc, nickel, the advanced metals benefiting from growing bets that the Federal Reserve will make another cut to interest rates this month. Key data is due Friday, when a U.S. jobs report could influence the central bank's monetary easing path. So definitely looking out for that. In the UK, we see the yield on the long-dated UK bond that rose to the highest since 1998, putting further pressure on Prime Minister Keir Starmer's government to take steps to regain the confidence of markets. The rate on the 30-year gilts, that rose 3 basis points, about 5.67% today, amid a global decline in government bonds. UK 10-year yields that climbed 3 basis points, about 4.78%. The pound weakened in early London trading today, falling about 0.4%, about $1.34. Then Russia's Gazprom said it signed a legally binding agreement to build the long-anticipated power of Siberia 2 gas pipeline to China via Mongolia, and would expand deliveries through other routes in what will be seen by the Kremlin as a major political win. In comments made to Russian wires from Beijing, Chief Executive Officer there, that's Mr. Miller, said the gas producer could ship as much as 50 billion cubic meters a year via the power of Siberia 2 for 30 years. Mr. Miller also said the price for the fuel will be lower than what Gazprom currently charges customers in Europe, and that's according to reports there. Then in Spain, the unemployment rate that increased by 0.91% in August compared to July, with 21,905 more people registering as jobless. That's according to data released today by the Labour Ministry. The total number of unemployed people in Spain now stands at 2.43 million. The rise in unemployment follows a typical seasonal pattern in Spanish labor market, where joblessness generally decreases at the beginning of summer when the tourism industry hires seasonal workers, and increases when tourist numbers decline at the end of the season. So that's what we're seeing there. Let's get a check on the currency market now. The Indian rupee, that hovered near a record low today. Haven't touched the mark in the previous session, as heavy U.S. tariffs on Indian goods continued foreign portfolio outflows. That's weighing on the currency there. The rupees USD INR pair rose to as high as 88.34 rupees on Monday before recovering modestly and likely intervention by the Reserve Bank of India. The slide comes as U.S. President Donald Trump's administration doubled tariffs on Indian goods, lifting duties to around 50% on many exports, including textiles, jewelry, footwear, and furniture. And Japanese issuers are on the verge of topping $100 billion in bond issuance across dollars and euros for the first time ever in any years. Companies from the nation stormed the primary debt market today. At least 7 Japanese companies led by financial firms, including Nomura Holdings, Inc., Mitsubishi UFJ Financial Group, Inc. They kicked off dollar bond sales. It was expected to be one of the busiest weeks of the year for global debt offerings. And we see Bitcoin rebounded above $110,000 amid Fed easing bets. Bitcoin bounced back above $110,000 per coin today, and volatile trading lifted by rising expectations that the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates this month, September. While traders are awaiting key U.S. jobs data for confirmation of that. Remember, what happens in the jobs market, that definitely will drive sentiment for the U.S. Fed. The world's biggest cryptocurrency was last up about 2% at $110,000, 278. Bitcoin has slid nearly 12% since hitting a record high above $124,000. That was in mid-August. But it's found support as markets are increasingly pricing, U.S. monetary easing. The focus now turns to Friday's August non-farm payrolls, which economists expect will show moderating job gains, and then softer than expected data could cement bets on easing and extend Bitcoin's rebound. Still, Bitcoin's pullback from August peaks has kept traders quite cautious there, putting some fear in the market. So definitely investors will be watching out for all that data coming out from the U.S. Then for the Nigeria's stock market, we did kick off the month of September on a back foot there with a big drop, 0.41% stat. So I guess the hangover from the final trading week of August that spilled into September. But we did hear from Mr. Bismarck Rouhani there that we could see some kind of recovery. That's for the stock market. Then we see for the top trades yesterday. Let's see how investors fared there. Normally, we did see FCMB 55.84 million. That was what was traded. That was the biggest there. And the Access score coming in second at 31.95 million units traded. So definitely, let's see what is trading right now on the markets. If I have a glimpse of what's playing out on investing.com there, we see that the market still looking for direction right now, looking at those terminals. So who knows, maybe the first few weeks could see some pullbacks, but who knows, a comeback might be in the offing. So that's what's driving sentiment in the markets that we track today. Back at 1:30, we have Willie Bong. She'll bring you details on what's playing out with the major markets that we track. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Have a profitable morning and day.